Get on the prairie and just fucking.
Like, I'm just saying, if you burp in my presence, I'll burp back.
My man Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Like, Zoinks, man, you gotta stop burping.
Like, are you challenging me?
What Scooby-Doo movie was that? That was,
The first one.
Was that the first one, the Ultra Instinct, like, meme? Oh, no, you're talking about the live action one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you challenging me? No, there was the animated one with the biker gang. He was like possessed or something like that.
Oh yeah,
and that started the whole like Ultra Instinct meme.
I remember that. That was good shit.
Fucking Shaggy going Ultra Instinct.
Hey, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attack Productions. Today, I bankrupt once again by Jake and Nick.
What's going on, y'all?
Howdy.
And today we're going to talk about games that were off camera, what I did instead of played this weekend, and maybe did the ban list actually affect anything? Let's find out. Yeah, so I bailed on us this weekend, but I had fun.
What a start!
What'd you get into, man?
Went to go see Rocky Horror Picture on Halloween weekend. Fantastic. Went with a bunch of people from my D&D group, maybe someone else, and it's always a fun show if you've never been. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, just a classic midnight movie. Tim Curry, it's an experience though. Like you really have to go to the event to understand why people like it. Like
I haven't been in so many years. And it was just great, like being able to like go back on during the movie and go the windshield wipers and just saying the phrases back and forth and whatnot. It was just a really enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I've always loved Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's one of those outlandish ones, but you get good laughs out of it.
Yes, and one of my players from my D&D group actually is one of the performers, and they're performing the entire time as well while the movie's going on. So it just was a fun experience in that way. So. But I did have a game on camera. It was with Nick, so you all get to catch it out later. I brought back AOD just because I knew I wasn't really going to play much this weekend. So I was like, regardless of win or loss, whoever I play against will get a first game win, and then I'm gone for the rest of the night. And yeah, stay tuned for that video. That was a very interesting match. It was AOD versus Red Yellow Sin. So, and trust me, you're not going to expect the ending. So.
Only one way to find out, I guess.
So after I left, I'll let Jake kind of take over in the sense of what was being on camera. So what else was on camera for this week, Jake?
We also had Zamasu and Red Gogeta and Beerus versus the Black Xeno Trunks leader from a couple of sets ago.
That's a blast from the past.
Yeah, I know. It was really surprising to see that deck come back.
And for speaking of Bass from the past, as you all can tell, we didn't really do a lot of videos this week, mainly just because I've just been kind of busy and didn't really have time. So my 21 deck profile will come out later. I do plan on working on the other 21 at some point. We also gonna have a red Nyx Nyx deck profile.
Yeah, we got a Red Yellow Sin.
So we'll have that as well, and potential whenever the cards Fluff ordered. He's making a Vegito deck, which we'll do a profile on that as well. So look forward to that at some point. And maybe we'll do some catch-ups on all the releases because where I just haven't had time to kind of catch my breath in a sense. I allowed all the releases that we were recording kind of just slip on the rug. So we'll probably retouch on some of those, especially I want to talk about the SCRs. I want to talk about the promos. I kind of want to talk about the Gohan deck. So when we get time, I'll bring those up as well. So moving over to kind of talking about, we had a ban list come through. Some people wasn't what they expected. Other people are okay with it. We had obviously the changes to Sensu Bean, the changes to Violent Ray, and then we had a few cards that were specified now, like the Vegeta Renew Resolve is now set to the Vegito deck, and then we lost some cards. Now, and some cards got limited. Does this ultimately affect the two top tier red decks? Maybe, maybe not. Jake did play a lot of red this last yesterday, so I'll let him kind of talk about his experience against those certain red decks, and did that make a difference in his opinion? I do know though if it didn't hurt those two decks, it definitely hurt a lot of other red decks that actually could have used those cards in their normal pacing.
I will agree that mid-range red decks have probably suffered the most here, like more so than the hyper-aggressive stuff. But I think overall, my experience, I got to play overall 3 games against red this weekend. One was just like for fun, and what I've realized is that I think the ban lists or the changes that were made on the ban list were very narrowly targeted and kind of don't really look like much on their face. But I think when you really get into how they affect the rest of the cards around them, it starts to make a lot more sense. So I played 2 games against Red Sin and 1 game against Gogeta. I was playing Blue Beerus. None of these games are on camera, so I won a game against Red Yellow Sin. I won a game against Gogeta, and then lost a game against Red Yellow Sin. I think what it really came down to me, like what made those games feel a lot more winnable post ban list, is you don't have to worry about Piccolo, so you don't have to basically keep a negate pocketed at all times, like for just a random free double striker. I think Resolve Renewed is actually the biggest hit because it unlocks effectively a floodgate for every color in the game. Blue gets Gohan Baby's minion back. Yellow gets, although they were still playing Robotic Riposte, Yellow gets an easier avenue to play Robotic Riposte, and it's going to activate more often. Black has the Pan, although it's like tied to one deck specifically, but Black doesn't have a lot of floodgates anyway. You know, so Green has the Topo Boo, of course, but with Resolve Renewed gone, every color now has access to a cheaper floodgate because decks were resorting to playing things like Topo and God, I play this card Ready to Rumble. Jesus. And they were resorting to playing these big 20k expensive floodgates, and they ended up being too expensive to really compete with the aggressive decks in the meta, especially like when Sin goes full bore or Gogeta starts pivoting into the spammy like combos and stuff. But I think all of these colors having a cheap floodgate back slows the game down for everybody. And I mean, yeah. And then Yamcha was just a free 15k. It didn't even have to hit anything, so them not having access to that is good as well. Or at least they have access to it, but you don't have to worry about it all the time. And it makes your blocker negates a little bit more powerful as well.
Yeah. My curiosity also revolves more around a lot of Sin players. A lot of Sin players weren't playing Unisons. So like that Piccolo wasn't a factor in those decks, nor was the Yamcha, you know? But they did take advantage of the Vegeta Renewal Resolve.
Yeah, the Resolve Renewed.
Yeah, Resolve Renewal, yeah.
And then not having to worry about Violent Rays means that your opponent is either going to tap out and spend all of their energy on aggression, and even if they do leave an energy back, they're not going to be able to floodgate everything that you have. So it forces Red into kind of this like glass cannon sort of strategy where they have all of the access to all the aggression that they did, but they don't have super efficient like defensive cards. Especially they lost their biggest floodgate effectively. Like it's still good in a couple of matchups, but effectively it's just relegated to the sideboard now. And then something I really didn't touch on was Broly Crown. It's actually still fine even after the errata. It's still a fine card. It really just kept it from being abused in Gogeta. And if I'm not mistaken, there was like another Unison that was able to play 1-drop red cards, but Maybe I'm misremembering.
There was the one that could play a 2-drop red card. It was for the peel off deck, technically.
Oh, the Shenron Unison. Yeah. Okay, so maybe that one couldn't play Broly Crown, but either way, like it still comes up. Like you still have to think about it and worry about it if you're being defensive against red, and it can still be pretty punishing.
Nick, in your original build, did you play the Vegeta card?
Yeah, I ran it out of 2 of, but I just switched to Beerus Ball now.
Yeah,
it does the exact same thing, and it's actually better in my list since I do run multicolor. I can play it for free when I have one charged. So arguably, I think it's a better choice at this point in the game. They're still not going to be like.
Is it free? It's going to come, or does it take a life?
It's take a life,
okay.
But you don't have to tap energy for it. So
yeah,
and that's just another way to get you down to 3 to get your Z Awaken. So honestly, I like it a little bit more than Resolve Renewed, what it was anyway, because now I can tap out aggressively, safely, and then still, if they want to floodgate me, I can stop it, and then I get another bean if I do it defensively. Yeah, and my thoughts on Violent Ray, it honestly it sucks. Not just for the red, not just for Sin and Gogeta, because I mean those decks were just overpowered as shit. It's just disappointing because most red decks beforehand couldn't really play defensively unless you played like the control matchups. But I think at the end of the day, it hurts everything that's not Sin and Gogeta, because Sin can just be hyper aggressive and just kill the opponent turn 3, and Gogeta draws the biggest hand that this game has ever seen, so they can just combo away their cards and be safe. It just sucks now that every other red deck has to suffer because those 2 decks were so good.
I will say, I think in our Discord we talked about a little bit of some other people. I would agree that red is known as most aggro, most negging deck color there is. Also, having really good defense package did I feel like a lot, especially in the hands of the 2 giants that were being played just a week ago. So at the same time, there is no unison that's. I mean, how many 30k unisons are there? 1, maybe, I think.
There's Gohanks, and then if you activate the
Gohanks
effect on the green,
actually.
Ooh, really?
If you do -40, he gets a 15k boost, but he's 25 naturally.
Right, and then the Frieza also, if you do the -3, I think it is, gets a power boost, and both of those have dual attack, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So Violent Rays is still good against those. It stops the Mira Unison, I believe, after it gets its buff.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you bring it in against random secret rares and green cooler.
And that's only if you know those cards are like in a best of 1, you're not signing those in because no one plays that unless you're playing against my prison build. And you're like, oh yeah, he's playing the Gohanks. Okay, cool. But I don't feel like anyone would naturally play those cards. You have to do a best 2 out of 3 to even get that mindset originally.
Yeah, and I can see Violent Rays still having like a 2 of in the sideboard, especially against the blue matchups, because blue these days they really want to run control and just run big bombs turn after turn after turn.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a way to remove those cards on your turn, then they're just gonna stay on the board established. Like in mine and Jake's game, he was leaning heavily into the new 6-drop Goku. Another World Blitz, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
So Sin inherently can't really touch the card because it doesn't really have much barrier removal. So having that card stick on the board and then just boarding another one, boarding Kale, like it gets out of hand quick. So Violent Rays I could see making some waves against blue still, but even still, like, just sucks.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is. I'm perfectly fine with Senzu Bean though. By the way, like I typically play that card as a defensive play naturally, anyways now, and occasionally I will do it as an offensive play, but I'm perfectly fine with it being defensive only. It does kill a lot of the silver bullets that were out there, but I think people stopped playing those cards anyways.
There's been a lot of talk in the community about there isn't really a lot of good reason to splash colors in Dragon Ball, and Senzu Bean was that reason. And I think I was watching Paladino, or maybe Nick was telling me about something Paladino said, but he was
Sounds like me.
saying something about how he wishes there were cards that were powerful enough that were worth like splashing like off color into your deck. And I don't think that'll ever happen until we get another way to manipulate energy on our turn, because energy exhaust is so punishing. Like, the reason things are so splashable in games like Magic is because like a portion of your deck is dedicated to fixing your mana and like having the correct colors on the table when you go to cast something. But in Dragon Ball, where any card can be your energy, it doesn't really, or at least it hasn't yet, made sense to print cards that went into your deck and charged specific cards into your energy, like from your deck, other than just like straight off the top. So until we see like more efficient or novel ways to like fix our energy color wise, like we just won't see splashing now that Bean is gone.
But after having a chance to play the new Gohan deck in just testing, it's obvious to tell why they.
Oh, hands down, that Gohan deck is ridiculous if they would have left since being the way it was.
Like, nobody talk about it because I think it's going to be a sleeper, so I want to get the stuff on the cheap. But, whew, yeah, that deck could really abuse it offensively.
I'm not gonna. I've talked to Jimmy before about this. There's a reason why certain decks don't get talked about. Like, they do not talk about certain decks. They talk about other decks and like, oh, this would be good. When in reality, they're not talking about the decks that will actually be good. And that Gohan deck is going to be incredible.
Yeah, a lot of channels. I think that's what you mean, like channels and teams and like content creators, like Facebook posts and like anybody and anything. I'm sure we've been guilty of it once or twice, but they'll talk about something that they're not actively like testing or like theory crafting or thinking is good. They'll talk about something that they've already kind of been through. And I think that's fair because like you understand it, you've played the deck, like you've done your research on the archetype and now you feel confident enough to post it. But sometimes people just kind of want to hear what your thoughts are on an archetype or a deck or a card, like just off the cuff. And I think that's what this format is like really good for, where we're just like kind of unscripted, just talking about the game.
I'm just gonna say, when they usually restrict decks heavily like that, that usually means there's something broken about it. Like, case in point was Gamma. Like, nobody thought that deck was going to be good when it came out, and like you were restricted to Android only cards. Oh no! And then it turned out to be the best blue deck in the format, and even still, I think it has a place in the meta. So
I think it's perfectly fine.
yeah, and nobody wanted to talk about it because, oh no, you're restricted on what cards you could play and couldn't do effects, couldn't do God Sealing.
You
But
just reminded me of something. Cell, the ultimate and bio android, was bought out on TCG Player the other day. I looked, and there was one seller with the SR printing, and it was like $9.25 a copy. I don't know what it is today. We could do a live look. If it looks like Bancroft's already on his second monitor doing a live look.
I mean, I'm always on my second monitor.
But yeah, I was looking to get some the other day, and I was like, I don't know if I want to play Gamma that bad.
Let's go on that a little bit. So regular is sitting at roughly $6, and then there are 20. There's one listing of the regular at $6, but there's 24 listings. I guess starting at $8 for the SPR. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, Jake, I think we have an extra one, man. Just let me know.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm bad at what I do, I didn't say this at the beginning. There's buttons. You guys should click them. They're down below. And there's also links. Speaking of links, there's also the Whatnot, which is a live streaming auction app where you can buy Dragon Ball Super cards and other trading cards or just any collectibles that you could think of. And if you join right now through our affiliation link in the description, you get $15 off your first purchase on Whatnot. Whatnot is an exciting new way to shop online. And if you create an account through our affiliation link and making a purchase, you directly support the channel. So we keep bringing you all daily Dragon Ball Super card game content. Thanks, Jake.
Hey, there we go.
Just reading your
The plug
proffer.
has been plugged.
I realized I didn't say it at the beginning of the video. I'm like, I gotta fit it in somewhere.
Yeah, you can just cut it and clip it at the beginning.
So, Jake, we never really went into our off-camera games that much. I know we
Yeah.
mentioned, but, how did you feel Red Yellow Sin is overall?
I think it's more dangerous than Mono Red Sin. I think there's at the expense of playing like 5 to 8 clunky-ish cards in your deck, you get access to a lot of really powerful effects that are probably kind of worth it. And this is kind of like talking about splashing like we were earlier. I think this is a unique case where, because Dragon Thunder is such a powerful extra card, it's almost worth dipping into yellow for on its own. And then you have a counter effect for cheaper than cooler on top of that. I think it's Instinctive Reprisal is the name of the card.
Oh my god, I'll pull it out, but I think so.
Yeah. I think those are effects that are powerful enough that it's worth exploring the splashing element. I don't know.
Almighty Resistance, Jesus.
Almighty Resistance.
Oh,
Okay.
you said cooler. It threw me off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Wait.
cheaper than Cooler Counter. It's only 2 energy.
Yeah, one
I
red,
guess you
one
don't-
yellow.
I guess you don't board a battle card and draw a card, but sometimes you just want to counter the counter.
And blue specifically, it's trying to run more floodgate style cards. Like in our games, you were trying to get the Gohan Babies minion on board, and I can, with Beer's Ball, I can hit that card pretty well, and with Almighty Resistance, I can stop any counter that you're trying to go for. So I like the red yellow build, and in both of our games, the friendly we played and the one in the tournament, it was almost a night and day difference, at least for me. Because in our friendly, I didn't see the crit sin or the crit haze,
Yeah.
and I lost that game because I gave you the hand advantage, and then our game 2, I did see it, and just going into the Dread Destroyer with a 20 double or 30 double crit off a super combo, like the early games, most decks can't deal with that kind of pressure.
And yeah, at the moment, I was still at 7 or 8 life, I think, and there wasn't much I could do about it other than take the damage. And unfortunately for me, if like multiple battle cards get forced into my drop area, that can somewhat clunk out my deck because it keeps me from playing another World Blitz. I mean, if I have another 4-drop play like a Boo Unison or something, it's fine. But in that particular game, I didn't. So critting those 2 life to the drop area meant that I couldn't just pay 2 and play a Whis and charge it to my energy because I would still have a battle card in the drop area, so it didn't matter. So I really just had to try and find a way to get to 6 energy to actually play my Another World Blitz. And at that point in the game, I had just been taking too much pressure for too long and died.
And in our first game, I was able to board 2 Omega Shenrons, and you were able to push through that no problem.
Yeah, I was able to just kind of negate that, combo up to 40 with a couple of extra cards, draw a couple cards, and not really worry about the pressure. But
yeah, and then I don't even think I boarded 1, and I don't even think I saw 1 in our second game.
No, you didn't. I think you went into Rush Attack Vegeta, maybe.
Yeah, that was how that was that, because I didn't see Omega all game. Run 4, I didn't see a single one.
Yeah.
And
So it was really interesting how those 2 games worked out. I think from your perspective, and I think you're right that the crit damage really mattered a lot. But I think more so than just the 2 life, it mattered what cards they were and what stage we were at in the game. Because I had already spent one of my Whis, and I actually only owned 2, so it's not like I could have got both of those cards out of the drop area in time to cast Another World Blitz before I would have got to 6 energy anyway, naturally. So, and then once you Z Awakened, I'm not getting any free charges off of my leader either. because there's just too much pressure, and I can't spend 5Ks to combo up.
With the recent ruling changes of being able to add black Z battle cards into your Z deck, I'm running the SSB Vegetas now, just to make sure I don't whiff on, or not whiff, but just stay at 4. Like I can take myself down in my own terms. It didn't come up since now that I'm able to take my life even more, because I swapped out in my list. I was running the Violent Rays. I put in the token negates, testing the ops. So I have more of a ways to get myself down low enough to get to that Z Awaken range on my own terms. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Since red yellow can get kind of clunky in the wrong times, being able to just activate that stuff for free is huge.
Oh yeah, and especially like being in red yellow, losing Resolve Renewed isn't just a big deal at all. And I walked into that a couple times feeling pretty safe to go into the baby's minion, and you're just like, you know what, I'll take the life, get closer to Z Awakening, gain a card in hand, and just make you waste 3 energy.
Exactly. Fierce Ball, good card.
Yeah. I think
Plus I got SPR, so now I can actually use them.
You could have used them beforehand just fine. You just chose not to.
I mean, there was a more efficient way to,
Don't get me wrong. Like, I have the 21 absolute ball,
release ball
in my sideboard for my 21 deck, and I purposely picked out the SPR version, so I get it.
See, time to crack out your old stuff.
Speaking of old stuff, put in the comments down below what old decks you're going to be playing after, besides Vegito, because everyone's going to try to play Vegito. But with all the new stuff coming out from Anniversary, the new Z Battle cards, Z Awakens, what decks are you excited about? I want to talk about, we talked about last week, about Coomber. Let's talk about spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, here it is, Cell Max, Deliverer of Despair.
It's a very good card.
This is a definitely good card. I do love Nick's comment in our Discord. Final Flash. But outside of that, it is a fantastic card. So naturally, it's an 8-cost card. It has ultimate quad strike permanent. If you have 3 or less energy, this card can't attack or be removed from the battle. Now, there was rumors going around that Cell Max was going to be a secret rare, especially the fact that at the end of the trailer, you see kind of like a silhouette of him. And some rumors got to us that it was, you couldn't attack unless your opponent had 4 or more energy. I'm glad that was mistaken, because that would have been stupid. No, so you can't attack this card if you have 3 or less energy. If a skill would remove this card from the battle area, choose all of your opponent's battle cards, ignore your barrier, KO them, place 1 card from your opponent's life in their drop, and then has activate main for 1 green energy. If your leader is green, play this card from your hand. There's no other restriction there, so you can play this turn 3, get ready, and hold on to it for your turn 4, like first card swing with 4 open energy, and great. Or you could just successor this card to blow up your entire opponent's board, and then actually, I don't think you can successor this now I think about it, because successor has to go to the drop. So yeah,
it can't be removed from the battle area, right?
Because I remember someone mentioning that in our Discord. Now I'm thinking about it, you cannot successor this card.
No.
What I will say though is 2 decks that are going to have a field day with this card, in my opinion. Funny enough, same card. Starter deck Broly, Story Kings, and OG Broly.
Yep, I would agree with that.
Being able to pop that card on your own terms is going to be huge.
Now that I think about it, I need to go back and reread the wording of it. But there's an extra card. It's the one with the heart on it from Tournament of Power. It's a green one. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but I think it's a counterattack. But
Pretty Heart.
Yes.
Pretty Black Hole.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you KO one of your cards, and then you could remove cards up to energy cost of the card you KO. So you could literally play this card as a way of like popping card. Now, granted, it naturally blows the board up anyways, but still, I think that's another good option you could go with if you have to. But it also crits a life, which I like.
Yeah, as the owner of like the card effect, being able to pop it on your own terms is a really nice thing against your opponent. And green like we just mentioned 3 examples right here, green has enough strategies to do that on its own, to where it's going to have multiple effects than just having a quad strike on board. And another use that I came up with as well is, I mean, I'm a big sucker for Surge Broly. Just having a 40k alliance target that your opponent can't touch, Eradicator piece is going to be
Yeah.
huge. Like swing, okay, alliance 56 double.
And you don't
tapping one card, yeah.
and no combos are needed for that. And you draw 2 because of that Piccolo's alliance ability.
hmm Is this card enough to bring green back into the meta by itself?
I don't think one card can do that.
Yeah.
I think like green has solid staples, but a lot of them are tied to unisons. We're seeing unisons being phased out, so I don't know how much that's going to be. I think green needs more. Green just needs more. It needs a solid archetype, and it needs the right. It needs more like Cell to do great. Now, Cell Max is not perfect, but it's a great card for green. But there's also arguments to be made now that we're more battle card heavy based metas. The counter boo is not better per se, but just a good another option for green. So it's a step in the right direction.
Would you agree with that, Bancroft?
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah. I think he said it better than I could have.
Because like if you look at the extra card Broly deck, that deck it's very big brain. It's the thinking man's deck, but it has almost no pressure pieces besides the leader, the 3-drop, and the 8-drop battle cards. That's only 3 things you're swinging with, and having just a technical 1-drop quad strike that's just going to be a threat for the entire game. It's something that deck needed. It's almost like it was built for it without saying that it was.
So before we end this video, while I had already left, you guys had something had happened in an off-camera game where one of the players felt, I guess, really dirty about the interaction that occurred, and because of that, they bought someone a premium pack. Is that what I heard?
So that sounds like
Nick ended
words.
up with a premium pack.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
premium pack was had by me. Shout out to Matt, the coolest dude in the world. He, yeah, he pulled the premium pack. He bought me a pack of Ultimate Squad. And funny little backstory behind this: Jake and I were sitting across. He was doing the profile for Sin for me, and we split a case of Ultimate Squad. And we were like, "Oh, we already pulled from that stuff." And I was like, "Hey, maybe Secret might be in there. Go on Piccolo." And sure enough, 3 packs down, there it is, baby.
Little double Gohan Piccolo for Nicholas there.
Yeah.
So I can only assume since Jake has it, this pickle will be going up on sale.
Oh, it's signed, sealed, delivered.
Oh, okay.
Already gone.
Fair enough. Fantastic. Well, with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Keep in mind, there's buttons, there's stuff, there's a link. You should click it. Guys, you do so well together. Lead us out.
Well, Nick, I had a lot of fun testing out the new meta with you today, and although we disagree about the ban list, I think we can all agree that during the holiday season, please ban your family from drinking and driving. Errata their choices. Limit access to their keys. Nick,
My
take us
brother in
home.
Christ, it's Halloween.
Well, we're getting close. They've already
Read
got
your-
Christmas stuff at the Target. Take us home.
Read your cards, know your plays. Let us make the mistakes you don't have to and fluff out.
What the fuck?
I don't know.